From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
And now at 5:30, a community concerned homeowners and farmers worried about a solar plant project and the impact it might have on their property and health. Wildfires, hurricanes, so much going on these days and so many people in need. If you want to help, we want to help you avoid getting scammed.
Topping our lineup today, the IRS is trying to get money to millions of people who haven't received their stimulus check. You may be owed additional money as well. What you need to do now so you don't miss out. Water is needed to keep food prices down, but in some places they're taking water out of an underground aquifer faster than nature replenishes it. The plan that one farmer is testing to fill up the aquifers. Used cars have been flying off the lot during the pandemic, and they've been getting more expensive too. There are some places you can negotiate to get prices down. There's some research that you need to do ahead of time.
Signs of opposition in Shelby County. Farmers and homeowners are raising concerns about the possibility of solar panels in Shelbyville replacing prime farmland. More now from WRTV's Rafael Sanchez.
Kyle Barlow is a fourth-generation farmer, owning 1,000 acres of corn and soybeans in Shelby County.
Farming isn't really a career, it's a way of life.
Kyle and dozens of his neighbors planted these signs on their properties in opposition to a potential industrial solar plant. They want to know what impact solar panels will have on their health, property values, and environment.
I want to know what the panels are made of, where they're made at. I want to know where they can be decommissioned. I'm not denouncing solar technology in certain places, maybe land that's more barren.
The company behind this project is S-Power, which is partly owned by AES, which also owns Indianapolis Power and Light. WRTV Investigates obtained this document, which shows one landowner being offered at least $800 per buildable acre to place solar panels on their property for up to 35 years. Joel Parker and his two brothers operate 2,000 acres. He also believes S-Power needs to step up and speak out about their plan.
This is some productive ground here. We're looking at some of the prime agriculture farmland here in Shelby County.
Down the road, Jeff and Amanda Tennell. They tend to cattle and other crops on 3,000 acres.
This is my baby. This is my baby. I have a right to know what is going into the ground around my property.
And you want to know?
I want to know.
Combined, the Tennells, the Parkers, and the Barlows have nearly 300 years of farming in their history. Their crops set for harvest continue to depend on solar power. But it's the proposed solar project that's raising concerns. Working for you, Rafael Sanchez, WRTV.
We reached out to S-Power and they provided a statement saying in part, quote, "This particular project is in its infancy and community outreach is an integral part of the development process whereby we present our projects to elected officials and all stakeholders and see public input during the permitting process," end quote. The statement goes on to say we are committed to responsible development and operations and see renewable energy development as a catalyst for sustainable long-term community development, including tax revenue and jobs for the local economy. Alyssa.
And you can see on our tower cam right now, we've seen some clouds filtering into the area. We're going to continue to see more cloud coverage as we head overnight. We've also seen that little white haze in the sky today. We saw some sunshine, but it looked a little different because of that wildfire smoke that's continuing to move into the area. We'll see that start to dissipate as we head through the day tomorrow. Tonight, however, temperatures dropping into the 60s by midnight, so it's going to be a fairly nice evening as we see just a little bit more cloud coverage. That's due to a cold front that's sweeping down from the north. That's starting to move into those northern counties right now. It's going to continue to bring us more cloud coverage, and we'll be set with a pretty cloudy day for your Thursday. It's also bringing us some cooler air. So temperatures today were as warm as they're going to be in the 7-day forecast with our highs in the 80s. Looking at Thursday, we're starting with the 60s in the morning. By the afternoon, we'll be into the low 70s with partly sunny skies.
There's a new plan today for how the government will get a COVID-19 vaccine into the arms of Americans once it's available. The CDC's outline suggests the vaccine would be available about 24 hours after the FDA signs off on it. People will need 2 doses from the same drug maker. Because there will be a limited supply to start, healthcare workers and the most at risk will likely be first, although no formal priority plan has been released. States and cities have 30 days to get their own distribution plans that include vaccine sites submitted. The government says it's picking up the tab on the vaccine itself, but experts say it's hardly free.
And it's also important to remember that it's not really free because we're paying for that with our taxpayer funds that are using it. And then there may be, for those who have insurance, the insurance may be billed for the administration costs.
Like with coronavirus testing, there are other costs associated with administering the vaccine. The syringes, the bottles, storage, and the provider giving the shot. Also, this is a much larger effort because it requires 2 doses. So experts say you can expect hiccups. We saw it with H1N1.
Some states may not have known when they were getting shipments. Some of the demand was being mismatched to the supply, where some places were getting the vaccine only after the peak of activity. I remember I was a healthcare worker getting vaccinated in November after the peak had already occurred in my area.
The other necessity is transparent public messaging around the safety and efficacy. Dr. Adalja says only 23% of Americans were vaccinated during H1N1, and that would not be nearly enough to gain control of COVID. More businesses are being forced to close permanently as the pandemic continues. That's what Yelp's economic average report out today shows. It found nearly 1 million businesses have now permanently closed during the pandemic. That represents 60% of closed businesses not reopening. Concert venues may become polling places this November. It's part of a new initiative by Live Nation to support voting access. The company is working with local election officials to see if they can use more than 100 venues around the country. Some in Los Angeles and Atlanta have already been confirmed as polling sites. Live Nation is also offering employees paid time off to vote and incentivizing them to serve as poll workers. Back to our lineup, millions of people still haven't received their stimulus check. You may be missing out on money for a dependent too. The action you need to take.
Indianapolis-based Anthem is launching a new study examining how everyday devices like Apple Watch and iPhone might help asthma patients manage their condition. The 2-year study will enroll participants from Anthem-affiliated health plans who have been diagnosed with asthma. The study will explore if data collected from devices can help predict asthma exacerbation or serve as potential digital markers of asthma control. The study will begin this fall. Nearly 25 million Americans are currently diagnosed with some form of asthma. When uncontrolled, it can lead to permanent lung damage, hospitalizations, and even premature death.
There's a concerning setback with a medical condition that is the leading risk factor for heart disease and can cause strokes too. Americans living with high blood pressure made good improvements in controlling it in the early 2000s, but recently that number has declined to lower than it was a decade ago. That's despite high blood pressure being easily diagnosed and treated with inexpensive medication. The findings point to other issues.
It is a challenge in these communities of color in particular that they have access to the lifestyle that we know can promote a healthy blood pressure.
The Journal of the American Medical Association addressed disparities in hypertension and obesity rates. White people were more able to control their high blood pressure than black people, and so were the insured. But disparities go deeper than access to care.
If you're in neighborhoods that don't provide access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and yet have high concentrations of places with high fat and high salt, it's going to be harder.
Experts say there's an even deeper connection between not investing in black communities and maintaining heart health, and it starts before birth.
It's been shown that the individuals who were born in racially segregated neighborhoods and stayed in racially segregated neighborhoods had higher blood pressure over time. There are things that if you're born preterm, the blood vessel vasculature, the elasticity, the elastin that's laid down in your blood vessels is different. The stresses that come from that birth, both for mom and child, have an influence.
The good news is there have been recent, simple, proven solutions to reducing high blood pressure among minorities, like reaching black men in barbershops. More in our lineup. Water is needed to keep food prices down, but in some places they're taking water out of underground aquifers faster than nature replenishes it. The plan one farmer is testing to fill up the aquifers. The IRS is still struggling to get everyone the stimulus money they're entitled to. Alicia Nieves is looking at what the IRS is doing to get people their money.
The House will be in order.
With Congress unable to agree on another stimulus package, the CARES Act may have been the only chance for many to get an economic impact payment or stimulus check. But millions still haven't received that. Roughly 9 million people are still owed at least $1,200, and another 2 to 3 million people are entitled to and have been fighting for the $500 for each of their eligible dependents.
Well, I think there's a whole combination of factors for why people haven't received their checks.
Nina Alston is the executive director for the Center of Taxpayers' Rights.
The IRS has just announced it's sending letters out to the 9 million folks.
So what do these people need to do to get their stimulus checks? They have to take action. Either go to the IRS's website and fill out the non-filer's form or file a tax return.
It's also really important that people realize that if they use the non-filer portal, they won't be able to claim the earned income credit. Those people need to file a regular return rather than using the non-filer portal. And I don't think the IRS has done a really good job about telling people that.
The earned income credit could be worth up to $6,000. Now, for the 2 to 3 million people still eligible for $500 per dependent.
For Social Security retirees and disabled persons, it gave them less than 48 hours to go online. If they had children, that meant that they could get an additional $500 and enter that on the non-filer portal. Well, you know, a lot of these folks don't have online access. It actually took a lawsuit that is still in the process of being settled to force the IRS to reopen the portal.
Those still eligible to claim their dependents have until the end of September to claim them through the IRS's non-filers portal. The estimated 9 million non-filers eligible for the full economic impact payment have until October 15th to take their required action. And you don't have to wait for the IRS's letter to do so. If you think you are amongst those eligible, you can go again to the IRS's website and fill out the non-filers form now. I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
With so much going on in the world, you may be looking for help or looking for ways to help others in need. But scammers are looking to take advantage of hard times. Experts remind you never pay or donate money by wire transfer, gift card, or in cash. You can also avoid charity scams by doing your research. When you consider giving to a specific organization, search its name along with words like complaint, review, or scam. There are also several organizations the Federal Trade Commission says will help you research charities, including the Better Business Bureau, Charity Navigator, Charity Watch, and GuideStar. Alyssa, another gorgeous day outside today.
Yes, it's been a really nice day. We are going to see some changes over the next couple days. You can see a little haze out there from that wildfire smoke. And we're going to start to see a little bit more cloud coverage overnight as well. Temperatures today hit right around 80 degrees. This was our warmest day in the forecast for quite some time. We're going to drop down into the 60s by about 10 p.m. tonight. We'll see light winds that sunset right around 7:51 p.m. Next, we are going to see a cold front dropping down from the north, and if you can see Hurricane Sally is going to continue pushing out back into the Atlantic. We're not going to see an impact from that. What we are going to see is that cold front moving in overnight tonight and into tomorrow. That will bring us more cloud coverage, very small chance of a light shower. Not really expecting anything from this. Most of us are just going to see cloud coverage, and we do really need that rain. We are seeing it abnormally dry September. As we head into the next couple days, cooler weather is on tap. Tomorrow we'll see gusty winds as that cold front continues to sweep through. We'll see wind gusts by the afternoon up to 20 to 25 miles per hour, and we'll continue to see breezy conditions into Friday as well, which is when we'll really start to see those temperatures dropping off. Partly cloudy skies tomorrow with those breezy conditions, 72 degrees for the high. Looking ahead to our 7-day forecast, into the 60s for our daytime highs on Friday and Saturday, and then we are back into the 70s to start next week.
There's too much water along the Florida coast, not enough out west where the wildfires are burning. There's something that has received less attention. Farmers' concerns in the Midwest about an aquifer there that could dry up. Alexa Liacco found it could mean fewer options and higher prices at the grocery store.
I have farmed in the area since '83.
Kent Dunn and his sons spend their days preparing for harvest.
To have everybody in the same field and, you know, be able to visit, tease a little bit, and just all be together is kind of a neat time.
It's a family tradition they're fighting to preserve.
Like the grandkids to be able to farm if they want to.
But the Dunn's legacy and the crops they grow rely on the one thing in short supply here in southwest Kansas.
If we don't conserve the aquifer, it'll be something that, you know, eventually just disappears.
All of the fields across the region pump water from deep in the ground, out of a natural source that's quickly running dry.
Usually 1 to 2 inches a year is about all the replenishment that the state gives us credit for, so.
Not much.
Not very much, no. So not when we're pumping 18 to 20 inches out.
In an effort to save water, the Dunns have stopped growing as much corn, which requires a lot more water, and have started growing more crops like milo. They're much more drought tolerant. That's because their fields sit on top of the Ogallala Aquifer. It's 174,000 square miles of fresh water underground that stretches from South Dakota all the way to northwest Texas. It supplies the water for more than 1/4 of all the irrigated crops in the United States. And for 4 out of 5 people living above the aquifer, that's their drinking water.
It is a finite resource, and to me, it's not a race to the bottom.
That's why Kent and other farmers are changing what they grow, getting sprinklers that save the most water, and only pumping from the aquifer if they have to.
We pay attention to the rain. If we get 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain, we're more than happy to shut them off.
On a larger scale, the county is looking to find a long-term solution to replenish the aquifer for generations to come.
Water is needed to keep food prices down, quality up, and to meet the market demands across the globe. So it's really a key concern for everyone.
Mark Rude drove almost 400 miles to fill a truck with flood water from the Missouri River to dump into the dry riverbed in southwest Kansas.
We released the water. It went tens of feet flowing downriver, but very quickly, in a matter of about 10 minutes, completely soaked in, 6,000 gallons.
Just a drop in the aquifer's bucket, but showing that one day, if a system was built, the agriculture in the region could be saved.
We have to start with a few steps. So ultimately, pipelines, we're even looking at shipping by rail.
Because something must be done now to save the farms, the crops, and the livelihoods of tomorrow.
If we don't pay attention today and don't take care of it, it will be gone, and it'll be like an extinct animal. You can't bring it back.
I'm Alexa Liacco.
Finally in our lineup, used cars have been flying off the lot during the pandemic, and they've been getting more expensive too. The other places you can negotiate to get prices down, and the research that you need to do ahead of time. The used car market is hot right now. The pandemic is driving demand and prices up. If you're thinking about haggling like you might have before with a used car, forget about it. A car expert, someone who bought a used car recently, told us that salespeople aren't budging on the sticker price because they know someone else will come in quickly and buy the car. So you have to negotiate in other areas and do your research ahead of time.
you're looking to finance a vehicle, especially with a dealership, you absolutely have to run your credit score and know what interest rates you qualify for before you go there, because they're going to offer you an interest rate that's probably more so to their advantage.
He says the dealership offered him 3 potential car payments without disclosing the interest rate and before doing a credit check. If you have a car to trade in, that's another way to save right now.
You think it has too many miles, it's too old, it's 10, 15 years old. Somebody out there wants it, whether or not it's an online offer. Go find out what it's worth, get the online appraisal, get some online offers, take it to a dealership, take it to a CarMax, but you gotta find out what your car is worth.
When I was ready to make the trade-in, they lowballed the offer, and it was probably about 25% of what I knew the car was worth. And so that was actually where I employed a little bit more of my negotiating, and I kept pushing until I ended up getting the total value of the trade-in based on the research that I'd done.
Another place they both say that you can save is by not automatically agreeing to that extended warranty or service plan. Do your research ahead of time on those too and negotiate, especially if you know you can get the same service for cheaper somewhere else. If you don't need to buy right now, the expert we spoke with says expect used car prices to start going down in another month or two. It's typical for the end of the year. Also, new cars are starting to come out again, and that puts pressure on used car pricing. Rural area doctors say even with telemedicine, their patients are still lacking. But here's Chris Conti with the story he's working on for tomorrow that has hope.
Remote rural parts of this country have spent years struggling with access to rural health care. And now with COVID, it's a situation that's become even more dire. We're taking a closer look at a new innovative idea that's helping to bridge that gap with telemedicine and technology and get doctors to some of these communities that need them.
Tonight, temperatures are going to drop into the upper 50s, not nearly as chilly as we were last night, but don't get used to this warmer air because cooler air is on the way. 72 for your high on Thursday, only into the 60s for Friday and Saturday. Overnight lows next week will be in the 40s. That's it for the news at 5:30.